Have you ever noticed how the word yawn kind of sounds like a yawn? That's a pretty funny coincidence. Or is it? What if I told you that not only is it not a coincidence, but it actually might point to something so fundamental it explains the origin of language? You see, modern linguistic theory is built on this idea called the arbitrariness of the sign. Take, for example, the word tree, which mentally we associate with the concept of a tree. But there's nothing inherent about the t, r, or e sounds that has to do with trees. Instead, the word tree is arbitrary, and it's only through convention that we all agree that the word tree is associated with the idea of a tree. But this isn't always true. Take, for example, the word buzz, which isn't arbitrary. It's meant to mimic the bzz sound a bee makes. Or maybe you're familiar with the kiki booba effect. When speakers of various different languages are asked which of these shapes is called kiki and which one is called booba, they almost always agree like this. It's almost like the word kiki is inherently sharp, and the word booba is inherently round. These are both examples of sound symbolism, kind of the opposite of the arbitrariness of the sign. Instead of words being arbitrarily associated with different concepts, in sound symbolism, certain sounds are associated with certain meanings. Now, for a long time, sound symbolism was thought to be an exception, not the rule, and that the arbitrariness of the sign held true. But what if that was a faulty assumption? What if languages across the world tended to associate certain sounds with certain meanings? Well, a growing body of research is starting to suggest exactly that. For example, which of the following two words do you think is larger? Ibib or abab? Statistically, you were more likely to think that abab is larger. But why? Well, the theory goes that high vowels like e and u require your mouth to say relatively small, whereas low vowels like a and a require your mouth to be relatively large. So we subconsciously associate e and u with small things and a and a with large things. We actually see this in the words tiny, puny versus large, and similar pairs exist in plenty of other languages. Note though that this is just a tendency, not a universal truth. We actually see the exact opposite with big and small. But plenty of studies have been way more ambitious. This one, for example, looks at hundreds of words from hundreds of different language families to see if sounds tend to correspond with certain meanings. And they had plenty of statistically significant findings, the strongest of which are presented on this diagram. Take, for example, words related to roundness, which often contain the sounds o and u, which makes sense since o and u require rounded lips. Words related to the tongue tend to contain l, since l is using the front part of the tongue. Words related to the nose tend to use n, a nasal sound, and words related to infancy tend to contain m, since that's one of the first consonants babies learn to produce. And evidence is only continuing to mount linking meanings with different sounds. In fact, some linguists even speculate that this could explain the origin of language. This is actually called the Bow Wow theory, the idea that human language first arose by imitating the sounds in their natural environment. And though it was discredited for a long time, it's starting to make a resurgence.